All right. Let's jump into this thing. Product photography editing in Lightroom. What's up, guys? My name's Nelson. I'm from Blue Light Media, creative director. Usually, I'm behind the camera and doing the photo editing majority of the time. And what we got here for you today is I'm going to walk you through some quick editing tips in Lightroom. Nothing too crazy, just kind of what we do, and hopefully, you've taken your photo in the studio or outside, and you gotten to the point where you don't need to do major editing on your photo. I guess I'll have to do that for another time. But this is just a basic setup. This is for our client, Milk and Honey, who was it's kind of like a Bailey's. You can have it in coffee on the rocks, just straight up chilled. It's really good. So we set up the scene to kind of have like a chill movie night with some like hot Cheetos and some Twizzlers, and on a nude background, which I think really works well with the whiteness of the bottle. So what we're gonna do first is go into our crop settings, which is this little guy, and then go into the adjustments, and you can just go into one by one, because let's face it, majority of the marketing right now for products goes on in Instagram. So we can adjust this to any size that you want. It's going to scale, and we'll just put this guy on an axis point, just to kind of draw the eye in a little bit, and center the focus on the bottle. So double click when you're ready to go, and then go over to basic. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll kind of like go in and see what happens when I turn up the brightness, when I mess with the shadows, and see if I can get it to a place that I think is pretty cool. And if I think that looks good, I'll see what the kind of the white balance auto selector does for me, which I think that this is a pretty good white, and that made it a little bit more natural. And then let's see what happens with auto for Lightroom. It usually does a really good job to kind of start you out with the look, and then you can build from there. I like to go in and just kind of do it myself a little bit, just add a little something and see where it's going, to see if I like this better before Lightroom gives me a direction. So let's see what Lightroom does. It made it really warm. I think I was on a better path. Like I was saying, I would have to now go back in and adjust this according to what Lightroom thought that this photo needed. So I'll go back in and kind of start to adjust, play with the blacks a little bit. I hardly do any contrast because I usually end up adding a lot of texture. Texture is like mine and Lens and Blue Light's kind of style, if you want to say. The one thing about texture, when you do raise it, if you're dealing with people, it can mess with the hands, so the hands will start to look a little bit rugged. So you have to come back in there and fix it. A lot of times I'll fix this in Photoshop, or I'll do, if it's like separate and it's really easy to mask, I'll do it in Lightroom. But I'll show you in Photoshop how I end up doing that. And then from there, we'll go into detail, and we'll do a little bit of luminance, like noise reduction. So this really works well if you're shooting in low light. Let's say you need to bring a flash and you're in a dark room, or you're in nighttime photography and you have your ISO up there in the 3200 plus range. You use luminance to kind of smooth out everything. It's really saved some of my photos, and yeah, it's a lifesaver for sure. So after that, we'll kind of go into lens correction, see if there's any kind of aberrations that need to be removed. And didn't look like there's much. I shot this on a Canon 1DX, the 24 to 70 lens. So that kind of just gave me a profile correction, which means kind of if the lens had any warpature, it would kind of straighten it out. So I always kind of click that and see what the difference is. And yeah, looks good. Okay, let's take this thing over into Photoshop. All you have to do is right click, go up to edit in Photoshop, and it's gonna open up a kind of a virtual copy of this. So let's open up Photoshop. And this is our virtual copy. Let's pull this guy in. We'll zoom in because we're mainly focusing on the hands themselves. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just use the blur tool to kind of smooth these out a little bit. Kind of get rid of some of these wrinkles and have them like not in focus. Not to say that this person's hand is super wrinkly, but I turned up the texture, which isn't very flattering to somebody's hands. So let's take away some of this. And then while we're in Photoshop, we look for any kind of like blemishes that we need to kind of clean up. Which I see some right here. Must have been like oil from Twizzlers or something like that. So all we need to do is go over here to our spot heal brush, kind of just click over here, and you can just highlight anything, and it'll do a good job of deleting it. For the most part, little crumbs from the hot Cheetos. Somebody was making a mess. I haven't had hot Cheetos in forever. I know that's a big thing for some people that love hot Cheetos. I like spicy stuff, but I don't know, whatever. And then we'll just go Control S to save. And once we save, it'll create a virtual copy in Lightroom. So this is our copy, and this is before. If you notice that the hands are a little bit more wrinkled, and then after they're a little bit blurred. The last tip I have for you is using this radial kind of mask and just going over the product. This product in particular doesn't need much adjusting because it's such a big, bold label, but sometimes you're dealing with like packaging that has a lot of like fine text on it, and the label's like really hard to read. So what I come in here is I just go and I up the texture, sometimes up the clarity. That'll darken the bottle, and you combat that with a little bit of exposure, and it starts to pop. So if we go here and we take this off, now you can see the difference between what the label looked like before and after, which I think it does a really good job. And after that, I'll export it into usually a PNG or JPEG for Instagram. We'll upload it to the account, get 1,000 likes, and that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully, you can start tagging me in some of your product photography and let me know what you're doing with it. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.